an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering The Dark Tower, Book 8, kind of. I'm gonna do that every time. Wind Through the Keyhole, Part 2, The Skin Man, Part 1. In this episode, Miles and I discuss an unsolved mystery. Far away, on the edges of the Forgotten Lands, there was a family, slaughtered. And at this moment, the fugitive remains at large. Bum, 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 bum. I don't remember what that music sounds like. Welcome to Unspoiled. I should have had that music, queued up and ready to go, but what can you do?
Zencaster, what might have been?
I know, right? Don't get me started.
Sorry.
So, welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Natasha.
I'm Miles.
And, yeah, so this, again, with the things that don't go where I expect them to go, I didn't think there was going to be a through line to the stories that Roland tells.
Okay.
And that's not to say that all of them have something to do with each other, because it goes into him telling this little boy at the end of this a separate story. But I expected, I didn't look ahead at the names of the sections until today when I had to find the section, and then I saw that there was Skin Man 1, Wind Through the Keyhole, Skin Man Part 2. So I thought that the next three were going to be three totally separate stories that he tells. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so, yeah, it's left me kind of on the edge of my seat, because mysteries they get me in my can't stop, won't stop, section of my brain.
Oh, I thought somebody was about to make the booty drop, but, that must be a different podcast.
Oh, that too? I don't feel that they're mutually exclusive, Miles. I don't know how you read mystery novels. I'm very active in my readings.
I'm just imagining Roland, on the dance floor at a club with, house music playing, just not dancing and standing around callously observing everyone and, judging them. Yeah, I think I mentioned here, I've mentioned on some shows, I don't know, that I've been listening to the audiobooks of the Alphabet Mystery series by Sue Grafton. Yeah.
And, I tore through, no joke, letters A through N in a month and a week. 5 weeks.
Damn.
They're, about 7-8 hours each. And I had all of these Audible credits backed up. And I just went nuts. And once I started listening to them, it was like I couldn't press stop until I knew who it was.
My mom was really into those. I remember growing up with those books being everywhere in our house.
They're like candy, where there's not a whole lot to them, but they're just so much fun,
Yeah.
The later ones I found to be kind of frustrating, and I definitely figured out who it was within the first third of the book for the last 3 books. So I've kind of cooled on them a little bit, because now I feel like I've figured out some of her tricks and it's ruined it for me a bit.
I mean, at a certain point, you're just trying to get to Z, aren't you? You just want to pump these out.
Yeah, so it's realizing that this was going to be this big mystery thing, I just was so here for it. And then when he ends this section where he does and we don't find out, I was like, no! But I really did like this section a lot, so...
Yeah.
We'll start out with that.
I think I've gotten more on board with mystery plots as I've gotten older. Like, when I was a kid, I just had no time for it.
Yeah, I think as a kid, there's, like, the delayed gratification of finding out who it is. You don't get that as a kid. You're like, no, I want things now. What are you doing? But as an adult, you need something to pull you the rest of the way through.
Yeah, for sure. And I love it when mysteries surprise you like that. Mm-hmm. They're, I've been reading the Hugo novels, slowly but surely. The best novel winners of the Hugo Awards in chronological order for Universes of the Mind at universesofthemind.com. And I'm a little bit further ahead in my reading than I am in my writing. And one of the books that I haven't gotten a chance to write about yet is a book called The Big Time by Fritz Leiber. And I had no idea what it was. I just jumped into it. It had a picture on the cover of, like, a centaur and a Nazi and, like, a flapper.
Okay.
And I had deduced that it was some kind of, like, time-traveling thing. But it turns out to be a fucking locked door mystery of all things.
Oh, all right.
And it was bizarre, and it's written basically like a play, and I just really loved it. And, I really like this section too. It goes on for a while, but there's a lot of things that I do enjoy about it. Most notably, initially, meeting Jamie DeCurry for the first time.
Oh, yeah. Jamie Redhand Jamie, how does that go?
Jamie Redhand or Jamie DeCurry, because he's got a birthmark, right?
Okay, that's what it is, because he never says what it is, he just says his hand looked like it was dipped in blood, and I'm like, hey, buddy, how about you explain that a tiny bit? But he just moves right along.
Have you encountered any priests of R'hllor recently?
Right? There's a part in the Strange and Norrell book where there's a dude working for him that everybody calls Wine Spill.
Okay.
Because he's got a big birthmark on his face, a big red birthmark. And it's like this moment when he realized, because he walks into this scene full of people he doesn't know, and somebody's just screaming, wine spill! Wine! And he's like, what the fuck? And then some dude comes running up and he's like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, a Hugo winner, by the way. I get to read that in like 15 years.
That book deserves it because, goddamn, anybody who hasn't read that book, number one, read it. Number two, if you can do the audiobook, it's 30-something hours long and worth every second. So, nice. I highly recommend it. Anyway,
this guy has a birthmark.
Yes.
And he's pretty chill. Seems like a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
We've never met him before. We've basically met all of Roland's other, compadres before now.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like Jamie was gonna make more of an immediate impression in terms of, like, being super different from everyone else that we've seen Roland hang out with. And I think he does in subtler ways than I was expecting. Like, he seems very calm.
He seems more like Roland that we know from when he's grown up.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know what I mean?
He's
just
a little
more
bit older
reserved
than Roland,
and
right?
Together. Is he? I wasn't sure.
I feel like he's like a couple of years older, but I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, so I get what you mean, but I was actually pleasantly surprised that there isn't anything super over the top about his personality to set him apart beside the kind of over the topness of how quiet he is, but even that isn't really... It's commented on that he rarely spoke, but then he does kind of speak a lot, and Roland keeps being surprised. Oh, he's speaking.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, maybe you just don't know him that well.
Exactly. Not till later, maybe.
And it starts off with, like, a kind of touching scene with Roland and his dad, where his dad's assuring him that he does not blame him for his mother's death, and that he needs to stop punishing himself for it.
Which he's doing by taking care of Court while Court is sick and dying.
Yep.
And, like, I really like the distinction when he's trying to defend himself. He's like, I'm just taking care of him, because, like, I respect him. And his dad's like, oh, so you're, like, reading to him and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. No? Oh, you're just washing his fucking underwear.
Yeah.
Because you hate yourself right now.
Yeah, he's like, if it was about just respect, then you'd be visiting him a little bit here and there to show that. But you're doing things in place of the people who are hired to do them.
Right.
As some sort of self-flagellation, and that's not a good look for either of us, son.
Seems like we got some silent sisters, basically, here.
Yeah. What does he call them again?
I think Amis?
Amis, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And it turns out that Roland's mom, Gabrielle, has been sent to a refuge called Serenity, I think? Mm-hmm. Basically, like, she's joined the Silent Sisters, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, she had joined them before she was shot, obviously.
Right.
By Roland. Because he shot his mom.
You alright there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good.
What's up? What's happening?
I was thinking about Roland shooting his mom, you know? And, like, how he did that. No, it's fine.
You alright?
I'm good.
Okay. I feel like there's a joke there that I'm not picking up on or something.
I was grasping for one, and I just didn't find it, was the problem. I thought one would just show up right there at the end of that, and it just didn't happen.
I'm just picturing you reaching into a cabinet labeled jokes and like, rooting around, and the jokes just crowd into the corners and put their fingers to their lips. Oh, shh, he won't find us. And you're like, God damn it.
It's like a horror movie, but for jokes.
So his father sends him on this quest, is the word that Roland uses.
Yes.
And the thing is that there have been a bunch of people killed by a something, and they mostly are saying that they've seen some kind of animal on its hind legs. And his father seems to not give this a lot of credence, but he also says that somebody that he trusts, like, has faith that these eyewitness accounts are true.
Right.
And whether or not it's actually some supernatural thing or not, there is a lot of people being murdered. So we got to take care of this either way.
Yeah, no matter what's happening, people dying. So
yes.
Why don't you get down there with your boy Jamie and find out. And they say that it's he tells them, like, up front that they think it's a skin changer, right?
I think that's what he says. What's his face's theory is.
Okay.
But he doesn't really believe in that. Yeah.
Right.
So they travel by train. Yes. And it's a weird little thing. It's only a 2-car train?
Yeah, it's like this tiny, like, crappy little train that breaks down.
Yeah.
Like, every time it makes this route. I think it's like there are some kind of mundane Blaine echoes here, and also just a symbol of the fact that this world is in fact breaking down. Like, they can't even keep 2-car trains going anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird... One train is being kept as a stable for their horses, and the point in taking the train, instead of just riding out, is to save the horses, because they're going to need them to do their investigation and exploring and everything. But it would technically be faster to ride on horseback to get there than it was to take the train, which winds up being extra true, because then the train gets derailed. And I like the descriptions, too, of how, like, the train seems super fun at first, and they're real excited when they see that the seats unfold to make beds. But then once they try to sleep in them, they realize that it's not super awesome because they just keep getting knocked off them in the middle of the night.
Yup.
Yeah, that feels true.
Take a hint, guys. Sleeper cells, not worth the price.
Oh,
I said
man.
sleeper cells. I meant sleeper cars.
I was about to say, I don't know what you just said, Miles, but you got somebody at Blackwater very angry. Listen, NSA or whoever's listening, he didn't mean it. Totally worth the price. We swear.
Absolutely.
You're all very good.
Yeah. Your sleeper cells are great. Keep it up.
Top notch.
Top notch.
Sleepiest out of all of them. So yeah, once they derail, they say that they'll go into town and either get like a group of people and oxen or horses to help get it back on,
Right.
or they'll send somebody back to retrieve the people until they can get it fixed. And they are warned by the cook, I believe, right?
I think so.
That they must stay away from this group of siren women who eat men.
They eat the men's!
Oh my god. It's so funny. I love this so much.
It's really great.
And earlier, Roland had been talking to his dad says something like, I think they prefer the long stick to a man.
Yeah.
And he's not understanding what that means, so he says something to Jamie and is like, so Dad told me this thing, what did he mean by that? And Jamie has to sit there for a second and be like, are you fucking with me? Before he'll actually answer it, because he really thinks that Roland cannot not know.
Yeah, and he's like, you basically sounds like he meant a vibrator? And Roland's like, oh, right. And Jamie's like, of the two of us, you're the one who's been laid, sir.
That's true, yeah. And he's like, I mean, I'm not worried about it. I'm sure I'll get laid eventually, but, come on. And
Come on,
so
man.
they pass by, and there's a woman sitting outside, and, they had, I think, intended to just go on by, but she hails them down, and this woman is, Madame Maxine style giant lady.
Yeah. Everlynn, I think is her name.
Yes.
And she's kind of the best. I love her.
Yeah. I have all kinds of feelings about her.
Okay.
We'll get to a spot that I felt like, is this in character? Because I don't feel like it is, but maybe. But to start off with, she can tell who they are right away.
Right.
And, is like, oh, I didn't see this thing that you're hunting right now, but I can tell you who did. Mm. And goes and, calls out some of the women to bring out food and tables and everything. And then this one woman comes out, and she is ripped apart and is in this, sort of state where she wishes that she had just died.
Right.
Obviously, the medicine that they have, can't heal. She's going to be horrifically scarred and disfigured for the rest of her life. And who knows what else is going on, because Roland says she's wearing these, huge, baggy, heavy robes. So underneath her clothes, there might be other issues, because at one point, she almost, falls over. She sways so badly that, the abbess has to, kind of hold her up. So the damage is severe. And she tells the story as they are getting ready to eat about what happened. And this thing came after them, in an instant. They were out getting water, closing the gate behind them, and this thing came, ripped off the head of the girl that she was with, and she had gone ahead because she had the bucket. So it is just getting to her, and it started to shred her up when Everlynn comes out with her shotgun. It's like a musket, right?
Yeah, it's maybe even a blunderbuss type thing.
A blunderbuss. Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I see that. And she manages to shoot it enough to hurt it, and it's not sure whether or not the thing holds more than one shot. So she knows it doesn't, and she just holds it up threateningly, hoping that it believes that she could injure it again, and it does, and it goes away.
Yeah.
But
Fortuna.
Then she takes Roland aside and tells him that she saw the thing's prick.
Yep.
And it was going to fuck her as she died, is the word she uses.
Yeah, it meant to fuck her as she died.
Don't you think that feels out of character, the language there?
It didn't strike me that way, no.
I feel like she's so, she's open and straightforward, but I feel like that language is so, like, vulgar for her. I would expect her to say rape or something like this. But the way it took me right out, and I was like, really? That's how she's going to say this?
Interesting. No,
you know what I
didn't.
mean?
Yeah, she kind of, I guess she just struck me as so sort of, like, bluff and, like, earthy, you know? Mm-hmm. That it didn't really, I don't know, she comports herself very much kind of like, we're all the people here, you know?
Right.
Like, there's a great moment when they first introduce themselves to her, and she's like, oh, y'all probably heard all the stories about the man-eaters who live here. And Roland's like, what stories? No, what are you talking about? He's like being all courtly and polite, and she's like, yeah, cut the shit.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. To me, I think that aspect of, like, her character as I perceived it was enough to, like, override her profession and what you might expect from somebody in that position. I don't know.
Okay.
Didn't bother me.
Alright, well, that's fair.
Yeah.
But, you know, I will say that I should not be surprised that this is what Stephen King decided to add it, because he can't just have people being ripped apart. That's not quite horrifying enough. We're going to also make sure that they're raped to death at the same time. You know, Stephen, it would just work fine if you didn't. I don't know what you're doing with this, but I hope that it means something more than just, you know, the shock value of it. And I guess we shall see.
It's such a weird thing to me that, like, and I understand, you know, patriarchy, etc., but, like, it's, every time I encounter it, it's such a weird thing to me that even authors who are, like, and here I'm talking about, like, you know, white dude authors, like straight white men, who are, like, you know, respected and intelligent and, you know, really lauded for their storytelling ability and their originality and their just attention to detail and process, that even those guys, it's like, oh no, they're going to throw in sexual assault for no reason all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's such a enormous breath of fresh air when that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, it blows my mind every time. I don't understand why this always has to be part of your story. Mm-hmm. And I'm not, you know, I've been very vocal about, you know, like, especially when I was talking about the, you know, Game of Thrones, the Sansa scene, like, there is a reason, you can have reasons to tell that story. Mm-hmm. But to just, like, toss it in.
Yeah.
As just like, oh, it's the way of the world, I don't know. It bugs me, and it bugs me that we see it so often from, like, people who otherwise get no grief for being problematic. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I do. I do know what you mean. Yeah, it's the kind of thing that, yeah, I have to trust you so much as an author at this point in my life with, like, my lack of patience, you know?
Yeah.
That if it comes up, you better have earned it already. That I need to suspend my impatience, because otherwise I'm ready to just, like, kind of start writing you off a little bit when it happens. So, you know, this happened here, and I just kind of was like, all right, dude, really? And I just got irritated because he's lost a lot of my respect from what he did to Susanna for no fucking reason.
Yeah, yeah.
So now, pulling this shit, I'm just, why, you know? And of course, there is the whole thing with the crows later, that story that the guy who worked with Roland's dad tells.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And the woman who's tied to the stake and everything.
Yeah.
He just can't not. And I get that, to a point, that is part of life. Like, this As women, we are just all like facing that all the time. But you have a choice as a writer to do all kinds of things. And when you choose the same thing over and over, and it's tending to always be women also, we don't hear about somebody seeing a prick with any of the dudes who got ripped apart.
Right.
You know, there's just something there that I'm like, again, why couldn't Roland have gotten pregnant? Whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, and like it's like, I don't know, it's simultaneously this weird commitment to realism, despite the fact that you're writing genre fiction and nothing else is a commitment to realism. Mm-hmm. And also, it's like, it's a commitment to this, like, hyper-idealized dude form of realism, where it's like, you know, that gets off on helpless women being tied up, you know, and yeah, there were plenty of, you know, gay rapes in the Middle Ages or whatever as well, but that's not sexy and you don't want to read about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, it's always a problem, and it's kind of disturbing to run into it again with Stephen King, you know, especially now. I mean, he's it's kind of a, you know, it's almost a James Gunn issue, right? Where it's like, wow, you're such a cool person in terms of your politics, and you had to go and do this shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, this is the reason, like, there's, again, I've said this before, not on this show, but that I'm so glad that I met Owen when I did, because I have no tolerance anymore. And I would have had to be out in the dating pool. God fucking knows how that would have gone. It would have been ugly. It would have been brutal. I would have had... I would have started an entire blog about it, probably. People
would be going around pointing you, whispering to their friends, "She eats the men's."
But it is like this thing where that I don't think a lot of dudes really understand how this kind of thing. This is a great example. It's like a microcosm of the guy that in general is fine, but then he just does that thing.
Yeah.
That one real problematic, real fucked up thing. And you just want to look past it because I've gone on so many dates by now and he's mostly fine. Can't we just? But no, it's there. And it isn't going away. And it's been many years and it's still there. And now maybe it's time to just be like, that's who they are. And, yeah. So, anyway, this scene, I'm gonna just say this. I am very suspicious of Everlynn. Everlynn?
Everlynn, yeah.
I think that she might be the monster.
Okay.
I don't have anything to support this besides the fact that I feel like she's the only one that has seen this thing and lived to tell the tale, as far as we know. Like, up close, like, been in proximity to it.
Well, that and the kid, right?
And the kid is the other one that I was like, maybe the kid's the monster.
Right.
The two of them I'm both very suspicious of, but the kid feels a little less likely, but the kid is just so... he's such a perfect red herring that I almost feel like that's what's going on there. I don't know.
Sure. I mean, it's like hard because he hypnotizes him and it seems to kind of get truth out of him, and you would think that if it were him, he would start saying something about how he killed people, you know.
Yeah, but, you would think.
But it is a perfect red herring, and there can always be some kind of bullshit to explain that, so...
True. So, that's my suspicion. I just wanted to get that out.
What do you think about the sheriff and the deputies?
Do you know who I kept picturing when he talked about the deputies? Was the two pirates from Pirates of the Caribbean, the one with the wooden eye.
Yeah.
Another one. But yeah, the sheriff seems great. Like, you know... Maybe he's the monster. Surprise, bitches. I don't think so, though. But he is very matter-of-fact about everything, and I really appreciate that. and doesn't seem to be kind of protective of the people specifically, like being like, well, it couldn't be so-and-so because I know that, like, there's none of that kind of politics to him.
Right.
So thumbs up to that. That speeds things up a lot. And of course, his deputies are amusing in that they clearly dislike Roland, which you want to, like, hate him for a little bit, but also there is nothing more irritating than somebody swooping into your workplace. Like, they own the place and they just showed up an hour ago and they're ordering you around.
It really reminded me of the Boondock Saints. And
I don't know, like, which episode.
No, not the Boondocks, the cartoon show, the movie, the Boondock Saints.
Oh, the Boondock. Oh, no, I haven't seen that either.
You haven't seen
I've seen
Boondock
parts
Saints?
of Boondocks, but no, I haven't seen Boondock Saints.
Really? Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's Willem Dafoe plays a policeman, I think he's an FBI agent, and toward the beginning of the movie, he kind of rolls into the Boston Police Department and starts ordering everybody around, which is even better because, like, he's a pretty openly gay dude, and he's ordering around all these tough macho guys who think they're hot shit. It's a great, I love Willem Dafoe in that movie.
It's just one of those things that even if that person knows what they're doing, you're territorial. Who the fuck are you?
Right,
How
yeah.
dare, you know? So I totally get where they're coming from, and there was, like, a pretty satisfying moment, though, where Roland has to, like, the guy says, you're kind of throwing your weight around, don't you think? And Roland repeats himself, and then he says, they looked me up and down, then went, which was the correct thing. Just like, the only thing, really. My mood was not good. So simultaneously, I'm, like, on these guys' sides, but also when Roland decides to, like, be a little bit of a badass, that's always entertaining.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I can't help but snicker a little bit.
I understand the guys, but I'm totally on Roland's side in this. Fuck those dudes.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing, I totally get why, you would be upset about that, but if the dude is clearly, like, better trained than you, like, not like he's coming in and claiming to, like, be able to do your job better, he's just, like, a higher level of your job than you are.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, okay, come on in, help me out with this,
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I'm concerned about, is that by making enemies of them, and I say that as if he's done it on purpose. It's not, he didn't do anything to make enemies of them. They just don't like him because of him swaggering in. But I'm worried that that's going to result in them doing something to fuck up his investigation in some way on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I saw a little bit of evidence that might be happening when he asks how many people have been arrested and have that tattoo, and they seem really amused at how bummed out he is when he sees how common it is. And I'm not, like, that's just a little bit of, I don't know, but it's not them actively sabotaging anything. But it definitely made me go, oh, if they get satisfaction from this, are they going to be motivated to try and fuck things up for him? Because it's just amusing to see him fail.
Right.
Which would allow that, like, whatever this is to get away. I don't want that.
I wanted to ask you a question. So we touched on it earlier, but what did you think of the sheriff's story about Stephen Deshane, and did it need to be here?
Probably not.
Did you like it?
I did like it. Well, yeah, I liked it, except for, that it's all to save a lady who's being raped.
Right.
But I always enjoy somebody being, like, really, dismissive of a person. Like, the, guy tells, I can't remember his name, his friend, Roland's dad's friend.
Oh, fuck.
I keep wanting to say Alen, and I'm not sure where I'm getting that. It starts with an A, right?
Roland's dad's friend?
Yeah. I'm trying to... Peavy is his last name, right?
Oh, I think it's Hugh, isn't it?
Is it Hugh? I thought it was an A.
Well, Alan Crow is the guy they're hunting in that story.
No, yeah, it definitely wasn't that. Well, whatever it is. I'll go with Peavy.
Okay.
Apparently Peavy's boss, when he decides that he's going to stick it out with Roland, his boss, who's heading on out without him, is like, well, you can stay behind, but by the way, you're totally not going to be a deputy anymore, because fuck you.
Yeah.
And then immediately gets killed. And I'm always here for that. That's a very satisfying thing. It's so, like, it's just a fantasy, you know? Just somebody being a total dick to you, and then they turn around and get shot in the face. Like, it doesn't get better than that.
I guess I do like... I appreciate the story because it does kind of explain why this guy is friendly toward them. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of, like, the difference between him and his deputies is that... God damn it. Sorry.
You right there?
Yeah, my mouth fell again. The difference between him and his deputies is that, like, he's older and knows the gunslingers and respects them and, like, understands what they mean. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, the younger deputies kind of going, like, who the fuck are you? You know, again, a lot of really great stuff in here that really gives you the feel of this land in decline.
Yeah.
I think King does a really good job of that throughout the story. And, like, at the end of Peavy's story, he talks about how, like, there's not going to be anyone taking over for me when I'm gone. This town is going to go away soon.
Yeah, I liked that moment a lot, of them being like, so, who's taking it? And it's not even like he's like, resigned to it or anything. He's genuinely surprised that they would even ask the question, because it's so clear to him that this is not something to worry about.
Yeah, he's like, fucking look around.
Yep.
Yeah.
And basically it's just like, well, you know, everybody who comes here is a fuck, so I guess they'll just ruin their own lives. Right. What are you gonna do?
What's there to do?
But yeah, I like the story also because it gives a sense of his commitment to Roland's dad as well. Like, that kind of shit bonds people in a really intense way. And it gives you an idea of why he is so willing to trust these two kids who are really young. Like, he's still not thrilled when they turn up at how young they are. But he knows, like, how trained they are even at that age. So...
yeah.
So... first, can we talk about... Okay. I'm not going to harp on this too much.
Uh-huh.
But I'm going to do it a little.
Okay.
He's talking, you know, when they first get there, Peavy's talking to Roland about two guys that he had hoped would get sent for, instead of, you know, Roland and his buddy.
Yeah.
McVries and Stephen. And then... when he says, as for Stephen, he's otherwise occupied, and so he sent me, I am his son. And Peavy says, Yar, yar, I've heard your name, and a bit of your exploits in Magus, for we get some news even out here. There's the dit-da wire, and even a jing-jang.
Okay.
Come on, guys. Aren't we past this yet?
No, we're never past this. This is the Dark Tower. We're going to make up words left and right, and I wish I could tell you that it was over. It's not. Now, have we heard Jing Jang before?
No, we definitely have not. That, I just can't with that in particular. Like, Dit-da is bad enough, but Dit-da I can even kind of get behind because it's so, like, it's short and rolls off the tongue a little bit.
Sure.
And you can picture that being turned into another word eventually. Dit-da wire, like, and then it's all of a sudden D-I-T-A wire, like Dit-da wire.
Yeah.
And that's, like, weirdly acceptable to me. I don't know. But Jing-jang, just, not only is it ridiculous, but it feels so much like it's on the edge of a slur. You know, like, I guess it's just, you know, when you have a bunch of people that you call pubes, and then you have the town
Right.
in the last chapter that's called, what was it? Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah.
You just...
I mean, after fucking Kamala, fucking everywhere. Fucking...
I just don't see how this wasn't brought up before, too. Like, this is a phone.
Right.
Essentially. And I don't think that we've ever even heard that they had them.
Yeah, it's
within Roland's lifetime,
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what bothered me more. Like, obviously the made-up words, you know, whatever. I thought the word Jing-Jang stuck in my memory a little bit, and I felt like we maybe heard it before, but I totally believe you when you say we hadn't.
I'm pretty sure we haven't.
But yeah, the fact that this random-ass town has a telephone...
Right?
Like, you should have brought one. Did they not have one in Meiji? That was a bigger town than this. Did they not have one in Gilead?
True.
Like, could you have made phone? I guess he says, like, the range used to go to Gilead, but now it doesn't anymore. But, like,
yeah.
Now I'm imagining Gilead, like, having fucking abandoned payphones all over the place.
Well, like, just because it doesn't go to Gilead anymore doesn't mean that Gilead shouldn't have some of their own.
Well, yeah, exactly.
You know, like, why isn't that mentioned? It's just, I don't know. Whatever. Fine.
It's bizarre because of how important of an invention the telephone is.
Mm-hmm.
And how you would expect to have heard about it before now if they had them in Gilead.
One would think.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's pretty funny.
So they spend the night in, like, the drunk tank, basically.
Yeah.
Because there are no good inns in this town. Everything is disgusting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This town sucks.
Yeah, it really does. And he winds up getting woken up by the phone ringing.
Right.
And it's some dude flipping out. And it turns out that, like, this entire family and all of their servants and farmhands and everybody has been slaughtered. And it's really, really, really disgusting. Like, horrifying. Yeah. Everybody who has had to look does not want to go back in there again. Like, the sons that come along with what's his name just wind up being like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna wait outside. I don't need to see the rest of it. You guys go on ahead. It's fine.
Hold on. I just realized that he says there were Jing-Jangs in Gilead, perhaps as many as 100 that still worked, but none spoke so clear as this. Because Debaria here has the best Jing-Jang.
Don't say it. Don't say the word anymore.
I mean...
There's no reason for it.
Which word?
No.
Which word do you mean?
You know, I'm not saying it. Don't you try and trick me, you monster.
Sorry. I couldn't help it.
Oh, I had something that I highlighted because I don't understand. But back when when Peavy's telling Roland that story about his dad,
yeah,
he says, have you ever seen a scar on your father's arm, Roland, right here? He touched the place just above the crook of his elbow where a man's yanks begin. What the fuck does that mean? And I'm genuinely asking. I'm not, doing that thing where I'm like, I know what you're going to say and I'm going to make you say it. I don't know what that means. Where a man's yanks begin. Is that supposed to be like, the crook of his elbow where guys jerk off?
I don't...
Because that's when somebody says a man's yanks, that's what I think of.
Let's see.
But do dudes just bury their cock in the crook of their arm and fuck it? Is that a thing that I didn't know happens? Because that seems really awkward and weird.
Oh, did you not know about that? I thought, I guess, yeah, that's right. Owen is actually obliged to not tell you about it until after you're married.
That's somebody listening to this is going to do that tonight. Somebody who never thought of that is going to be like, ooh, that's kind of a good idea.
I wonder if that works. No, it doesn't. Man's yanks. I guess you could say, like, the motion of yanking begins. But what else? Like, your biceps aren't your Yanks, are you?
That's what I'm like. Is that supposed to be some sort of like mid-world speak for like the muscles there? But
God, I guess
I don't feel like those have any of the sort of onomatopoeia or Mexican/Spanish influence or anything like that the other words tend to have that makes it sort of gut level you understand what they're saying even though you've never heard this word before. And this like just doesn't have that at all. I don't know what that's about. So if anybody listening knows what he means by that, get at me, because I'm really puzzled. I highlighted it. I just read it a couple times and was just like, yep, nope, I don't know what this is.
I guess maybe like in Gilead back in the day, you used to call your arm muscles Yanks because like you were comparing them directly to the Yankees in that they were, you know, kind of dominant and well known.
Thanks for coming, everybody. We'll see you next week. Toodaloo, motherfuckers. No, what I'm saying is actually just toodaloo, mother-fucker.
Right. That's directed at me. Yeah. That's understandable. I accept my punishment.
That was tortured. Alright, so this house, there's really no need to get into all of it, but it's really gross and really heartbreaking in a way because you can see exactly how everything played out and the way that people tried to run.
Yeah.
And the way that the mother tried to have her daughters leave first so that she could put herself in the, like, blocking whatever this was, its path. But she may not have done that if she could have seen exactly how big this thing was. Because all she could hear was the screams of the servants in the, like, adjoining house. And sent her daughters out the back door. But she didn't realize that putting herself in the way of it was going to do absolutely no good whatsoever.
Yeah.
So she might have just tried to run, which also would not have been any good. Like, you know, her daughters are ripped to shreds as well.
What confuses me is why they weren't protected by her sacrifice, but I guess that's a different book series. It's pretty gross.
Yeah.
It's described in great detail. And probably the most affecting thing for me is that the guy who made the call was just like a guy who worked there. Mm-hmm. He was a what do they call them? Fuck. What's the slang word they use for these like horse riders that hang out and do jobs?
Oh, I don't remember. I know what you're talking about, but yeah, I don't have that word in mind at all.
Anyway, he's one of those, and he seems like a guy who's pretty competent and like has seen a few things. Like, this isn't a young kid,
right?
And he is crazy spooked.
Yeah.
So that sells it a lot, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
And then they find the child.
Oh, here's another one that I highlighted. Okay. Again.
Okay, do it.
The front door was wide open and there were lit centers in both the hall and kitchen, but no one answered his hail. It looks like two separate words. L-I-T space apostrophe S-E-N-E-R-S. Do you know what this is? It's used again later, but it's not described as to what it is.
I'm looking for where you're looking right now.
It's from the very beginning of the... I took the center off of the sink side where it had been left and followed the tracks outside.
Oh. I don't know. The front door was wide open and there were lit. I think they're two words. But I don't
I think
know...
it is because, like, the next paragraph, I took the center off of the sink side. So, whatever the center is, they can be lit or not. So, is it like a lantern?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no idea. Canfield is a pokey, by the way. That's the word I was looking for. Wandering cowboy.
Right.
Yeah, no, I don't know what those are. I have no sense of that.
Okay. Sorry, but yeah,
no, you're fine.
They find the child.
I was gonna, they find the kid, and he is the cook's son, and he seems to have hidden under a bunch of furs.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the first thing he asks for is where's his dad, and they have to tell him he's dead.
Yeah, that's rough.
Which is pretty bad. And his name is Young Bill.
And they're like, is your dad Old Bill? He's like, no, my dad's just Bill. My grandpa's Old Bill, you dick. It's so funny. I just like this kid. He's not actually being sassy, but I just keep injecting sass into the conversation because it feels like such an inappropriate thing to even be asking a child that you just found hiding from a monster after the entire family's been murdered. Oh, so is your dad Old Bill? There's blood everywhere, guys. What are you doing? But
now
sure, let's joke about this.
If there is ever a time for this, it's later.
Right? Jesus.
Or better yet, earlier, before any of this shit happens, shut your mouth.
And Roland comes up with the idea to use this kid as bait because he imagines that he must know who it was because he was there in the exact spot where the footprints... This is fascinating. First bear tracks, then they transform to like giant cat tracks, like a tiger or something. Then they transform into hooves. Then they transform into like human footprints.
Yeah.
And then they find a pile of horse shit, which implies that he got on a horse and left, which means that he had a horse waiting because this is a person who knows what he turns into and prepped beforehand to come here and have an escape. So they had been operating on the, like, maybe this guy knows what he is, maybe he doesn't. We have to question everybody because we might have to, like, we might be looking at somebody whose guilt would not show on their face or in their voice because they're completely unaware of what they're even doing, like a werewolf. But it seems that this is like, if not necessarily premeditated, it seems premeditated though.
It does, yeah, for sure.
The only thing that I had a bit of a problem with here is that it doesn't seem like either of them are entertaining the notion that this person can turn into a horse.
That's very true.
And just, there's horse shit there because they turned into a horse. I don't know.
So they think it's one of the salt miners, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're going to go figure out which of the salt miners can ride. And they're going to round them up. And then when Roland hypnotizes young Bill, he learns that when the guy turned human, he had a tattoo of a blue ring around his ankle.
Right.
And so they are getting closer. Like, when he says he has a tattoo, Roland's like, fuck yeah, we got you, bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid mysteriously mentions something about a white mark, but doesn't elaborate.
Why doesn't Roland press him on this?
I don't know.
This kind of shit drives me batshit. And it's especially a King thing. Where, like, he'll drop in something, and there are any number of ways that Roland not pressing him on this might make some sense. Mm-hmm. But all he does really is, the kid seemed agitated and didn't answer immediately. So I guess I'll just drop it.
Yeah, he says, what white mark? And then the kid, he shook his head slowly from side to side, and I decided to let it go. He'd had enough.
Not good enough.
Yeah.
At all. Like, he's got potential, evidence that could change everything. You have no idea what that means. It might be huge. when he says the white mark, anything else, like, why would you just not, I don't know. Especially then, you find out everybody and their brother has one of these fucking blue rings.
Yeah.
So that white mark could have been the thing, some sort of weird ancient curse laid on them by God knows what, you know?
Yeah, who knows, really? Could be anything.
But anyway, I got really irritated with the fact that he doesn't press that for no reason that I could really understand.
I did too. I thought that was ridiculous. I'm like, Roland, really? Like, he says the white mark and you just let it go like that?
Yep.
Like, especially after you find out, like you said, that there's more of them with the tattoo, I would go back to that. Like, hey, can we do the hypnosis again?
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. Roland is, you know, not the smartest, not the brightest bulb of the box.
Apparently. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to think otherwise. But he does things like this often enough that I really have to realize, like, I haven't been shown that he handles himself well with this stuff.
Well, he's so bad socially. Like,
that's true.
He actually does a pretty good job with this kid.
Yeah, not bad.
But, like, when it comes to reading people and figuring out what they're doing and saying that's important and what he should be paying attention to and what he doesn't need to, like, it's just not his thing.
Yeah.
You know, he's good at tactics. He's good at, you know, like, his ideas here during this whole mystery to try and find out what's going on are solid ideas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though using the kid as bait is kind of callous.
Yeah.
You know, but they're going to keep him in the cell behind doors, like nobody can get to him. You know what I mean? Like, he's got really good ideas. He just doesn't have that common sense that you might want a little bit more of from Roland.
I like, too, that when they find the kid, he's in this, like, side shed that both Roland and Jamie did not check.
Yeah.
And Roland thinks about how if Court had been there, he would have given a cuff upside the head that would have sent him sprawling.
Yup.
Which, the fact that neither of them thought to check it is pretty bad, guys. Oh, the whole point of having a partner in something like this is somebody checks your work, basically. Right? That they are there to pick up when you might let things slide a bit too much.
You know,
you both fucked up.
You know what I want now? I want somehow to be able to read the Dark Tower series again with, like, Court's commentary throughout. Like, I just want him, like omnipotently watching this story happen and just giving Roland shit for every terrible decision he makes.
Oh, man, he would be so irritated by much of what Roland does.
It would be the best commentary DVD ever.
And yeah, so that's another part that made me sort of suspicious of this kid. And it doesn't really make sense exactly, so bear with me as I try and explain this.
Okay, you go for it.
The fact that he turned up in this spot that neither of them checked and that they're both, like, trained to do better makes me feel like this was a setup of some kind. And I don't even know what that looks like. Is there a way... Did they get confunded? You know, was there some sort of charm laid on them that they both just forgot how to do their job? Because that's really, like, the only thing that I can think of why they'd both be so not thorough when that's the whole thing that they're supposed to be right now. That's their game. And this kid being right in the spot where the guy turned into a human, right there, really?
Yeah.
It's a little too perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or, oh my God, I'm sorry. Just cracking myself up with these ideas and nobody knows what I'm thinking. What if whoever turns into a monster needs a little kid on their shoulders and they put a giant trench coat on and then they're done being a monster and they just take the kid off their shoulders and pop them down and then they get on their horse and ride away. It's really 3 little kids in a trench coat. They just left one behind. He doesn't remember anything because of the spell.
It's like an episode of Scooby-Doo all of a sudden.
This is why there's 3 different sets of animal footprints, because they have to trade, because carrying them on their shoulders really hurts after a while.
Absolutely. Just pull those rubber masks off and you'll reveal the janitors' faces.
I've cracked it.
You got it. Shit. Guys,
Yep.
I wasn't trying to spoil her.
There's really no point in continuing reading this, I think.
There really isn't. I mean, you got everything right. She guessed right on her own, y'all.
Sorry, everyone. But yeah, so the proximity of this kid to like everything that's important just feels like really suspicious, and the fact that he was in this like one spot that they didn't check, and the fact that he's like, oh, I can't remember anything, but then he like does though.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't trust it, and I don't like it.
I don't blame you.
So, that's where I'm at.
Alright, well, yeah. They go into the cell because they're waiting. Basically, Jamie's going with the sheriff, right? Mm-hmm. To get the salties, the salt mine workers, so they can all come down. All the ones who know about horses. Because shape changers can't turn into horses. It is known. And they're going to bring them all down to the prison, and Bill's going to look at them. And then they're gonna go from there. So while they wait for everybody to get back, Bill and Roland are hanging out in the cell, and Roland starts telling Bill a story.
Yeah,
it's a story within a story.
Da, 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 da.
It's actually like the second or third story within a story, but that's fine.
That's true. Yeah, so I'm actually kind of glad because I want to know what the story is all about because he's mentioned it so many times now.
Yeah, he keeps bringing it up.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of like, fine, do it, God.
It's like when he was older, he can't remember the damn thing to save his life. When he was younger, it was like, it's his favorite thing. It's one of the things he just like floods message boards with theories about this.
I bet I won't even get one share.
Have I told you guys? Do you guys remember Wind Through the Keyhole? Yes! Damn it!
So, alright, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to say about it. I feel like I'm forgetting something that I wanted to mention, but I don't.
It's a long chapter, but it's a lot of detail. There's a lot of, like, kind of fun character work, you know, with the deputies and everything, and Bill. And it's just, you know, and there's a lot of, like, setup for the mystery and, like, clues for the mystery.
Yeah.
So it's not the most thrilling thing to talk about, but it's all very well done.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm not the only things that I really like took issue with here were the weird Jing Jang and Man's Yanks.
And all the sexual assault.
And the sexual assault, yes.
Yeah.
That's definitely higher on the list than the Jing Jang. Sorry, I can't say it.
I didn't even say it again. You're the one who kept saying it now.
And the Litz centers.
The Litz. Oh, what is happening?
I'm fine with, like, you know, but it's just so distracting when you don't get why he's done it the way that he's done it.
People are like, people are really harsh on Martin for, like, Nuncle and stuff like that.
Nuncle.
Which is fine.
That will never go away.
But, like, this shit annoys me way more.
Yeah, agreed.
Because, like, at least I can see where he was coming from. I don't agree. But I understand, you know, the thinking behind it.
Yep. Yeah, that... Oh, man. I'm sorry. I just keep... The Nuncle thing, especially because he wound up sort of dropping it. Like, he himself was just like, yeah, this wasn't a good idea. You know, I respect that he understood retroactively that it was a bad call, man. Versus... King, who did the opposite and was like, we're going to pretend Kamala was here the whole time. Which is such a weird choice to make.
Why aren't all these fucking people saying Kamala? Huh? There's so much slang in this book. Why are there not Kamalas with every other fucking word?
I thought Kamala was really a thing for the the Calla, specifically.
Well, then why did he know all about it, then?
Maybe because, like, I know that people in the Midwest outrageously call soda pop.
Well, yeah, but you don't know how to do their country dances.
Maybe I would if I were a highborn woman educated in diplomacy.
I don't think you would.
No?
I don't think so.
Like, Queen Elizabeth knew how to do traditional German dancing, I'm sure.
Also, it's not like that's the only place. Like, the Dark Tower says Kamala.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Like, everybody fucking says it.
Although I think the Dark Tower only says it because they know that Roland knows it. And they're just pretty much pandering at that point.
Come on,
So,
we'll use your favorite words. Just come on down. We'll call it your favorite thing.
but yeah, no, like, having King writing a horror movie, basically a horror mystery of a horrible killer monster that transforms to a bear that almost touched the ceiling is how one of the dudes who sees it says. Like,
Yeah.
that it's so high.
Yeah.
One of the dudes meaning the child.
Right.
This is what I'm here for. Like, I'm all about this.
And
I
he's
just have
good at
no idea who it could be other than obviously the child or the giant woman, because you know she's probably part giant. And do you know what those women are?
They
eat
eat the
people.
men's.
All right.
God.
Well,
lots of Harry Potter comps. It does seem like he was very influenced by that series.
I think so, right?
I mean, you know, Sneetches.
I don't know how you aren't as a writer.
Yeah,
even
but
if
he,
you
like-
try not to be.
But he, like, put the golden Sneetches or whatever into his story.
Yeah,
Like,
he did.
yeah, Harry Potter. The words Harry Potter appear.
I wonder if he told JK that he was doing that. Because I imagine that he needed to get her permission before, like, writing. Is it copyrighted? Like, just the name Harry Potter? I don't know how that works.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe.
Or if he was just like, hey, keep your eye out. You get a little bit of a mention in an upcoming book. And she read it and she was like, what a weirdo. Because that would be really fun. If he just sort of said something was going to be out there, but he didn't, like, really detail what it was. And then she finds out that it's this horrible weapon that rips a child apart.
I love J.K. Rowling, but if she could have stopped this and didn't, I'll be very upset with her.
I could say that about any number of projects that she's been involved in since, so...
Yeah.
We won't talk about that, but those who are interested in becoming high-rolling patrons, Rashawn and I definitely recorded on Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them this past weekend, and let me tell you, we were not kind. And there were even people in the audience who were like, I really like this movie, and by the end they were like, never mind. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm here to ruin everything. I'm not that sorry.
Just, you know, it ticks me off so badly, not to get off onto a Harry Potter tangent, but it's like, of all the things you could have done, of all the extra stories within this world you could have told, I don't care about that guy.
That's 100%, like, that's like, my arguments throughout that recording is 80% me saying that.
Like, where the fuck is the Marauders movie? If you're gonna do
There's
this.
so much of... Yeah, we're not gonna...
Okay, sorry.
But I agree with you 100%, and I am on record saying it, so I just want everybody to know that.
Do it. Fuck Nude Scamander.
Not in the good way. No. All right, so I'm going to say hi to new patrons. This week we have Lian Dwan, Jeanette Rose, Jacob Johnston, Matt E., Nicole Curtis, Sam Jimenez, Stephanie Richter, and Jesse Farrell all became patrons. So welcome to all you guys. Had a bunch of you this week. Welcome. Thank you. A couple of you are at the $20 mark or the $10 and up mark, and you're going to be getting some, what do you call them, postcards if you're $10 and up, which I haven't yet designed. I'm kind of waiting for LeakyCon to be over before I decide what I'm going to have these this month's postcards be, because I might get inspired from something there.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm like, really, I really have been enjoying doing the postcard thing. So
I enjoy getting them, that's for sure.
Yay! And if you're $20 and up, you're going to get the Unsober access, which will get you access to the recording that Rashawn and I did of Fantastic Beasts. And it's a live on-camera recording once every 2 weeks. So, you know, it's a lot of fun, and we just choose a new topic, like kind of on the spur of the moment sometimes. And previous episodes have included topics such as ice cream, summertime, being sick, and whatnot. And they're a lot of fun. It's like one of the highlights of my week is getting to do one of those because they're so silly. So, yeah, guys, if you haven't already left a review of the Dark Tower show on iTunes, you should go ahead and do that. Because it's something that makes us feel good in our hearts, and we like it. And right now we're at 40 reviews, which is, you know, let's get to 50. Let's do a nice round half 100. Is that what Roland would say? Half 100 miles?
Half 100 wheels, maybe.
What is wheels? Is that miles, or is that, like, much, much shorter than miles?
It's definitely not miles, because, like, at the beginning of this book, when they meet Bix, he's like, do you speak of distance in miles or wheels? You remember that?
Right, yeah. So wheels has to be shorter, right? Because it takes, like, I think in this, when they ride out to the latest scene of a crime, the Jefferson Ranch, he says it's like 15 wheels outside of town. And 15 miles feels pretty far.
Yeah, I think wheels is a smaller unit, I'm
wondering about that. Is that a real measurement that he just, or did they make that up?
I'm going to go ahead and say it's made up, but I don't know for sure.
Probably. Oh, guess what? We have 2 new reviews.
Oh, wow. Shit. All right.
Hey. You want to hear them?
No, I want to hear them. Give it to me.
First one is from Alan Kingsley.
Oh, I know that guy.
What's up, Alan? 5 stars from the U.S. titled, "He didn't know why he knew he needed to leave a review. He just knew." Then he writes, "Nah, just kidding. I know exactly why I need to leave a review, because Unspoiled is the hardest working podcast network in show business." Aw. Alan, that's not true at all, but thank you. Natasha and Miles are insightful, funny, and unfailingly honest as they dig through and sometimes viciously dismantle. That is beautiful. Viciously dismantle.
Oh.
One of my all-time favorite book series. Beware if you don't like people talking smack about your favorite stuff, because this is a show that sees the Dark Tower for what it is, a weird, flawed story with some fantastically high highs and bafflingly low lows. It's a perfect target for the Unspoiled brand of criticism. If you love Dark Tower, this is a great way to help you enjoy the series in a different way. If you hated Dark Tower, these two have your back on everything you dislike.
Yeah, we do.
If you're new to the series and looking for a reading buddy, Natasha can be right next to you saying, "Wait, what?" Face it, constant reader, the forces of Ka are drawing you inexorably towards Unspoiled, the Dark Tower. Alan, that is a gorgeous review, and I thank you from the bottom of my blackened, cynical heart.
That's very well done.
I love it. And Viciously Dismantle might go on a t-shirt.
Bless you for enjoying our show despite the fact that we have started to hate literally everything.
5 stars from J.M. Bro from the United States. One of my favorite podcasts.
Aww.
Natasha and Miles are both brilliantly engaging and personable. They have keen literary insight as well as provide different points of view from a popular cultural perspective. I find their voices easy to listen to, which is a hard characteristic to quantify and a hard one to find. I know what you mean.
Yeah, for real.
Making my way through Midworld to the Tower all over, and I rather enjoy this quartet of commentator slingers. Long days and pleasant nights, sigh, and then they gave us a little, like, okay emoji.
Nice.
So, thank you, J.M. Bro, for that, and
thank
the
you.
commentator slingers. That's
Commentator
fantastic.
slingers, I like it.
Pod slingers.
Yeah, I like pod slingers.
I bet that's a podcast name already.
Probably.
But if it's not, I'm going to buy the domain name.
If it's not, we should totally take that.
But thank you guys so much. It's always fun to see that we got new reviews. And the one from JM Bro was left on the 6th, so like the day before yesterday. So that's cool. I always like to see when it's like something really current. Yay, that really makes me happy. Thanks, everybody. All right, Miles, take it away. What do you got?
Oh, well, I just got a couple of podcasts out there that you can listen to me on, including the Smash Fiction podcast, where we do battle between fictional characters, or debate who would win in battles between fictional characters, I should say. And it's a very funny, frequently sexy, always really stupid show that you should check out on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or whatever the fuck it's called now. Leave us a review, subscribe to our show, tell your friends about us. If you are really into it, then you can join our Facebook group, the Smash Fiction Fan Faction, which is very active and super fun. And if you're really into it, then you can go to patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast, kick a little money our way, get access to all kinds of cool bonus content, as well as our patrons have a say in voting matches and other stuff into being. So you can check that out. I believe when this drops, our most recent episode of Smash Fiction will be the one that we are recording tonight, which is Nico Minoru of the Runaways versus Zatanna of the Justice League. So that's happening this evening, and that should be in your podcatchers very soon, or perhaps even now as you listen to this. And you can always go and check out our back catalog. It's pretty evergreen, lots of characters that you probably know and love. We did have Newt Scamander on the show once. He went up against Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon, which I recently watched for the first time, and fuck that other guy, because that movie was great. So
that's a movie that, like, so few people that I know in person have seen, and I'm just like, y'all are missing out, because that was a real good one.
It's good. Sharon's been bugging me to watch it for a while, and we finally sat down and watched it yesterday, and it was real good. So yeah, totally.
Some things are popular because they deserve it.
Absolutely. So anyway, yeah, Smash Fiction. Check us out on all the social media outlets. Also, check out the Odyssey Storytelling Podcast. That is a weekly show that I host and produce, based around a monthly storytelling event that takes place here on Tucson, Arizona, where I live. So if you want to shoot some love over to Odyssey Storytelling, that'd be great for me and for us and for storytelling, which is important. And also you can go over to www.universesofthemind.com, where there is another brand new piece up as of today.
Oh snap!
What's happening? What's happening? No, it is part 3 of the same. I've been doing a 4-part series, 4-part weekly series about one of my favorite wrestling shows. It's called NXT. Part 3 went up today. We have been covering the show basically by the year, as my theory is that the show goes through a specific cycle every year, or just about every year. So today's article, part 3, goes into 2016 and the rise of the NXT Tag Team Division. So if that kind of thing interests you, it is available right now on universesofthemind.com, along with all kinds of other content about wrestling and science fiction and really not much else, but there will be soon. So, yeah, you should do that. And then also, if you want to find links to anything else that I've done pretty much ever, you can find all of those on my website, www.mjschneiderman.com.
Nice. Yeah, I used to have a domain that was my name, and then I let it lapse because I'm not really using my married name anymore.
Yeah.
Because I'm divorced now. But I haven't bought the new one, and I should.
Yeah. It's nice to have. It's it's a pain in the ass doing it the way I did, because I have to, like, spell it out so often. But
oh yeah, because Schneider. Owen the other day, or no, it was actually today. I said something about how I was going to be recording with you tonight, and he's like, "Oh right, I forgot, because of Miles Schneiderman, because that's his name." And I said, "Babe, you really don't want to do the last name."
Yeah.
Thing here
at
all.
You got no leg to stand on, buddy.
Yeah, and then Owen looked at me and said, "Get out," because we were in the car. He's like, "Yeah, I can't believe you even brought that up." I'm like, you just said it. What do you expect me to do? Guys, Owen's last name, I'm not going to say it, but it's not good, to the point where he has told me he really doesn't want me to take it when we get married. And that he may take Winters, which is a name that I just pulled out of thin air, but that I really like.
Why doesn't he just take Kingston?
Because Kingston's Brendan's last name.
Oh, yeah,
dude.
That's right.
Hello.
Sorry, I forgot about that.
So he could take Diosa, which is my maiden name.
Right.
But I have a weird thing lately where I'm realizing that all the names that I've had are because of the patriarchy demanding that I take the name of men in my life, and I'm kind of over it.
Fair
so
enough.
I'm like, I'm just going to pick my own name. Fuck you guys.
Fuck yeah.
And Owen Winters sounds pretty damn good.
I will just say that in terms of that particular argument, Owen has so little of a leg to stand on that he may need a peg leg, if you know what I'm saying.
You stop. Shh. 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 Everybody who knows what Owen's last name actually is.
I'm not saying
Shut up.
I'm
Just
not
don't
saying
say it. Don't anybody say anything. It's real bad. All right, guys. Well, thank you all so much for listening. I think we won't miss an episode next week because I'm going to be back from LeakyCon. So, yeah, we should be fine.
Word. Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm excited. Thanks, everybody. We love you. And see you next week. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.